Well, welcome back to the Unapologetic Podcast. My name is Brandt Merritt, hosting today on my own with Jonathan Woodyard still on his way back. And I'm joined by a couple of friends from Mercy here in Springfield. Jessica Atchison, Executive Director of Nursing and Operations, and Aaron Tribby, Director of Academic Relations. And to give a little background, SBU has a long-standing partnership with Mercy, and this is going to be a great conversation around healthcare and Southwest Missouri. So excited to have you guys on, Aaron and Jessica. Thanks for coming. Jessica, I'll start with you when we talk about Executive Director of Nursing and Operations. What does that look like?
So that looks like I have responsibilities over a few clinical areas. Our regional football that covers from Rolla to the Oklahoma line, as well as the operational side of anything academics. So medical residency to high school job shadowing, all falls under, in workforce development, falls under my purview.
Perfect. And then that ties in, I'm assuming, pretty well with Aaron with academic relations. So yes. Academic relations, sort of what's the scope of what that looks like?
Yeah, so I'm very fortunate to lead our academic relations team. Our group, kind of our scope of work is going out and connecting with all the local institutions that have students ranging from really middle school all the way up to, like Jessica said, med school or students coming for residency programs and everything in between. So really just trying to see how Mercy can best support a student, kind of meet them where they're at, and help guide them for potential future employees at the hospital, caregivers at the hospital.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And you touched on it a little bit. So Mercy is a big name with a big brand that has a big footprint beyond just Southwest Missouri. So I don't know if one of you could maybe describe the nature how Mercy Springfield operates within maybe the bigger Mercy system, because it's one big system, but also smaller systems, I think, if you are correct. Articulating it right.
You are correct. Mercy as a whole is a 55 hospital, 4-state system. But we live in Southwest Missouri, and that is our coverage area. So really Mountain View, Missouri, Cassville, Aurora. We have a couple of critical access hospitals in those communities, as well as Lebanon, which is a small acute hospital. And then here in Springfield, which is our large acute hospital.
Yeah, very large. It's an impressive facility. So I guess even more context on SBU and Mercy before we get a little farther into it. Going back to St. John's was the old iteration of Mercy, I think, and SBU have a partnership that goes back to the 80s, and that's kind of continued through now. How long have you guys been working with SBU and the roles that you have right now?
So for me, I've been with Mercy about 6 years altogether. I kind of had two different windows of time. Yeah. It's really just been since I stepped into this role on our academic teams that I had kind of direct overlap with SBU and the students and the faculty.
Cool. Right.
So I've been with Mercy for 20 years. And in that time, I was a bedside clinician and had interactions with students from that perspective in clinical rotations. I was a student myself for SBU in my master's degree. Yeah. And then in these roles has been the last 4 years in more of the formal relationships.
Perfect. And from our side too, I think it has become even more formal in how we work closely together with you guys, from the obvious forward-facing, the name of the college, Mercy College of Health Professions, to I think even just behind the scenes, a lot more even integration in how we work together, which I'm sure we'll get into a little bit. So very thankful for the partnership because it's been great for us, and I think hopefully good for Mercy as well.
For us as well.
So if we talk about healthcare in Southwest Missouri, that's like a big phrase. What are, I guess, the state of things? That's a big, broad question. But if you were to describe the state of healthcare in Southwest Missouri from like available care, training and education, what are the sort of the big highlights if you're going to tell someone this is the state of healthcare in Southwest Missouri?
You
got it?
So the state of healthcare, I think in general, and I don't think it's unique to Southwest Missouri, is there is some access of care issues. How do we ensure we're serving the communities in the right capacity? Both hospitals in our community frequently are reaching capacity. As the population ages, there's a need for more healthcare. I think the other side to healthcare that people don't always think about is healthcare is more than nurses and doctors, and how do we ensure that we're getting all of the other resources that the community needs. We are blessed to be very academic heavy in Springfield. But that is not to say that our region is that way. Springfield houses a lot of university, a lot of educational opportunities, but it feeds a much larger service area than just the Springfield proper.
For sure. When you talked about beyond just nurses and doctors, I know see if I'm tracking with you, we have a social work program. And I think that's been something we've even talked with healthcare providers is you need social workers, you need counselors and things beyond just, especially with mental health challenges growing. It is beyond just in the nurse's office. Yeah.
It is. I mean, it's as far as accounting.
Yeah.
And leadership and marketing. Healthcare is a city amongst itself. And if there's anything that you can think of that happens in the public sector, it likely happens in healthcare.
Right. Aaron, state of healthcare in Southwest Missouri. Anything you'd add to that?
No, I think, Jess hit a lot of the high points of it. I think something that Springfield and just our region has going for us is like she said, all of the institutions that have students. I think there's a lot of conversations going on right now at the academic level, at the workforce level of, how do we engage students earlier? How do we get them knowing that, healthcare is more than just the nurse and the doctor. It's all these non-clinical professions. It's all of these other ways of getting your foot in the door. And I think, Mercy does a phenomenal job of trying to meet those students where we are at. And we've been given the resources and the teams to go and dedicate that time to invest in them at an early age. Trying to go and talk with middle school students about what they want their careers to look like and what are the different pieces of healthcare that they're kind of drawn to, and then helping them and mentoring them and coaching and guiding them kind of through those things. So if a student comes and shadows on a floor and they don't love that setting, instead of just like, okay, steering to a different career pathway, let's sit and have a conversation of what did you like? What drew you here? Sure. What did you not like? Because it may not have been the career itself that they were turned away from. It was maybe just that setting. So let's try this again in a different setting. And ding, ding, that was what they were looking for. Yeah. So I think we're very blessed to have a team and local leadership and ministry-wide leadership that is investing and being very forward thinking in that way of, we really need to tackle our pipeline and workforce development and getting it in front of them.
And for us, that's really helping feed academics, because we know there's not as many high school students graduating every year. The workforce is getting smaller. Those that are going to traditional education is not as high as it was. Right. The amount of students that need to work to survive has shifted. Historically, it was 10%. And given our state of our economy, that is shifting. So how do we, as a healthcare system or as a Southwest Missouri, help drive them into where are those needs, and how do we fill seats in academic programs like SBU's nursing program or the radiology program, and how to support them through that.
Yeah, for sure. So lots of academic institutions that are providing opportunities for people to get into the profession. So that's a good check. It's a positive check. Are there some other things that are really encouraging when you look at maybe what's working well in the region when it comes to healthcare?
Yes, I think getting people to stay in our community is working well.
Okay.
We have a lot of people that come into our community because we are kind of a quote unquote college area that maybe aren't from here. And we're seeing more and more of those students staying in our community and retaining them within our community. And I think that is really the goal of any of our work, is not only how do we get them here, but how do we keep them here?
Yeah.
And I think building off of that, it really starts with the experiences that they have when they step foot in any of their rotation, shadowing. Once they step foot in a Mercy facility, we want to ensure that they are warmly welcomed, that the preceptors are going above and beyond for them to engage them and coach them and guide them and treat them with respect, making sure that they have all of those different opportunities to step in and just kind of experience what healthcare in Southwest Missouri looks like, because that plays into really their deciding factor of once they have graduated, the experiences that they have had at any program or at any facility is going to drive, are they looking at us as a future employer or not?
Yeah.
And so we're trying to make sure that everything is optimal and that we have multiple touch points with them along the way.
And I think uniquely healthcare in Southwest Missouri is not what people think it is. Because if you don't live in Southwest Missouri, you don't really understand the gem that Springfield is. Everybody outside of this area is like, oh, that's kind of a small town. There's not a lot of resources there. But when you get here and you see the level of care that's provided in the service area of patients, like people then get surprised. Like, oh, I had no idea that kind of care was offered in Southwest Missouri. And I think that's a huge benefit to not only our community, but how we recruit into our community.
This wasn't something I thought of before we were planning to meet, but I'm originally from Florida, Lakeland, Florida. So it was, I don't know how you would call it, but kind of like a closed community when it came to healthcare. There was a regional hospital, Lakeland Regional Health, and the state had put some things in place that you couldn't have a lot of other systems come in. So that's changed. Now there's Orlando Health is coming in, Advent Health, a bunch of others back there. Here, you mentioned there's multiple hospital systems. Does that competition help? I say competition. I'm sure there's also collaboration, but does that maybe help spur on the quality of care? The fact that you guys are actually kind of competing.
100%.
Yeah.
Like competition creates quality, because the more that I'm challenged to do better, the better it is for our patients.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, Southwest Missouri would not be able to thrive with only one health system in place. Yeah. We have to have, for just the population that we have, we need and require multiple systems to be here. So, yeah.
Okay, cool. Easy question, I guess, but just it came to mind because it's been a big change back home of what's been happening there. You mentioned all the way down to middle school kind of a couple of times. Has that always been sort of a pipeline approach, or has that been a significant shift lately to reach even farther down into the school system?
Yeah, I think it's really been just since our team has been formed. I think we have been very intentional about trying to get those interactions with those students. So I'd say over the last 2 years, it's been much more focused.
Okay.
For I think 10 years now, we have had our Health Sciences Academy. So that's a program where we have 50 eighth grade students that come into Mercy and are interacting with, it's instructors from one of the local education systems at SPS. And there's a lottery where those students are coming in, and their entire academic year is being spent inside of Mercy Hospital Springfield. Every course, the entire curriculum is based out of there at eighth grade.
That's very cool.
And so, that has been kind of a long-standing integration of those students into the system because they're on-site and in-house. But really just over the last 2 years, as our team has been together, it's been, let's go out to where those students are at. Let's meet them. Let's go to their classrooms. Let's go showcase the different opportunities within healthcare, answer questions, hands-on activities, lectures, et cetera, just so that they start thinking about it. And the more they think about it, the more guided they're going to be. Our hope is really, one way to look at it too is we are trying to play our part in helping guide them into the healthcare career by exposing them early, but also just to help solidify their decision. We want to try to prevent the examples that we hear about all the time is someone's going to nursing and then they get to, a certain point in school and they're like, oof, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And then they reroute to a completely different profession, more student debt, all the things. And so if we can engage them early enough to help make that path very clear, that's going to help speed up their timelines as well.
Yeah, for sure. So those are good things happening. What are some things we talked about? Access to care. Are there other things that keep you up at night, make you worried about the state of things?
I would say probably the thing that keeps me up at night is just the resources. While we are rich in academia and we maintain a lot of those students in our area, there's a deficit of what we need to care for the volume of our community and ensuring that they're getting the right quality of care.
Yeah.
And for me, I think it comes back to just retention of, current caregivers of, we think we do a really good job kind of meeting them when they're in their academic programs and getting them to that first kind of employment opportunity, but it's how do we continue engaging? How do we continue upskilling them? How do we continue investing so that it turns from just, okay, I'm here for a couple of years post degree into I'm loyal to Mercy. I want to be here. I'm choosing to be here. They've invested in me, and I continue wanting to give back as part of the organization and growing. So I think that is retention and just kind of continued upskilling and feeding into them.
Organizational culture is interesting thing. I was just thinking of that too. So from a couple of things that I've noticed, Publix supermarkets where I'm from, they refer to their employees, and I totally forgot the name of it, but it's beyond just, it's associates. They're all associates instead of just employees. And I know for Mercy, it's coworkers.
Actually, we've had a transition in the last, I know,
no,
right?
I didn't know this.
In the last year and a half from coworkers to caregivers.
Okay, so that's why you say caregivers.
It is.
Okay.
But yes, like
it's an intentional way to refer to one another.
To refer to one another, that everyone's on the same page. So we're all either coworkers or caregivers, and even the EVS coworker caregiver, I struggle with that still today. Like it is ingrained for 20 years. We've called them coworkers, and then I'm like, okay, I have to change my vernacular that we use. But it's everyone. Every piece of the puzzle has to be in place to provide great care to the patient. So even that person who's taking out the trash or drawing blood, like they are a caregiver and they're caring for the patient in some way.
That's great. And then one of the, I think, affinity things that's always worked well with SBU and Mercy is there's a faith-based history with the Mercy system and even still today. So how does that work out in just the culture that you guys have within Mercy?
So I will just go back to kind of my upbringing. Like I was raised Catholic. I was raised in a Catholic school system, and faith has always been, part of that education piece. And then as I stepped into the workforce, that was something that I sought out. I wanted to work for an organization where I could, prayer was very present and a part of meetings and, overhead every day and just part of the day. Not just because that's what's comfortable, but because that's very meaningful to me at a deep level, is to have that be able to play out day to day and not have to think twice about it. And so when we go, I think that's where we work so well with SBU, because there's a very similar vision, a very similar culture that is in place, and how we represent that, how we treat each other. And I think that's something we hear from caregivers, teams, people all the time of like, why do you work at Mercy? Why do you stay at Mercy? And I would say 9 times out of 10, it is that faith-based piece and culture that we have that keeps people there and wanting to stay there because they're able to practice that and have been at an organization where they weren't necessarily able to do that, and it felt uncomfortable or they weren't fans of it. I love what our mission team always says is we're not trying to convert anybody, but this is who we are. Like prayer is very much a part of it. And all we ask is that everyone is respectful of that time. They don't have to be a practicing Catholic or Christian. We have a lot of other faith traditions within the system, and we respect that and we honor that, and we try to treat everyone and meet them where they're at and just know like this is how we want to treat people. So nothing to add a whole lot to that.
But even as someone who was not Catholic growing up, I was Baptist growing up, and I've never felt that. Even, we send our leaders through what we call formation, which is really understanding how we were developed and the pieces that we have to continue in order for us to maintain a religious organization. Mercy's unique in we are the church and the hospital, where a lot of times when you have religious health systems, those are two separate entities. And so in order for us as lay to take over leadership in healthcare for religious healthcare, we have to have just kind of some extra training to understand and be able to pass that to the caregiver, to the students that are in the building. And I think that is what is one of the things that ties Mercy and SBU together really strongly is the dignity of the patient. Everything is really surrounding the dignity and the right relationships that we have.
Yeah. And just talking to friends I have in healthcare, so many patients appreciate a nurse or any other health professional that's going to come in and care for them and offer to pray for them, or they'll ask for prayer. And so a Christian who is in a secular organization, that's maybe where you feel uncomfortable, as opposed to be able to give that holistic care to the patient. And not every patient is going to want that, but so many do. And I think that's important.
And sometimes I don't think people don't know sometimes that they want it.
Yeah.
And so when it's around you, it feels more comfortable and you're willing to accept that kind of love on them.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it helps them make things not, you know, the worst day of my life might not be so bad.
Yeah. Right. So SBU and Mercy, pipelines, partnerships, how it all kind of fits together. And like we've mentioned, it's gotten even tighter. Just, I'd love to hear basic thoughts on SBU students going into the workforce. How are they prepared maybe differently? And what's that success rate been of getting them into the system that you guys have seen over the years? This is just a shameless plug for SBU. So we're doing this.
Shameless plug, not. You know, we do see that our students that come from SBU transition into the workforce, into Mercy's workforce much smoother. They're embedded in the culture, they're embedded in the technology, and what sometimes our core caregivers don't understand is how technology forward our organization is. And sometimes that's hard to catch up to.
Yeah.
And those students are embedded in it from day one. They're embedded in the culture from day one of clinicals or rotations in the hospital. And by the time that they graduate, they have sometimes just a little bit shorter runway.
Yeah.
They don't have to do some of the training that someone who went to an academic program down the street may have to go to because they were immersed in it.
Yeah. I know our sim labs look just like a Mercy hospital wing. So that's always been impressive. We started a nursing program from scratch at the school I worked with in Florida, and we built a brand new sim lab. I thought was like, oh, wow, this is amazing. And then I got to ours, both here and the Bolivar campus. Okay, this is way better. It's really impressive.
We have been very intentional to try to just replicate what, a patient room would look like. Same equipment, same software, same brands, all of those things just to help with that kind of that seamless transition into the workforce. So they step in day one and they're like, oh, I've seen this. I've done this. This is what I've been doing the last several years of school. Yeah,
that's great. You mentioned technology forward. I mean, it's changing fast. I mean, I just was listening to a podcast on the way down here of AI and how it's changing my kind of work in marketing and enrollment. And I'm sure it's not just AI, but technology in general is moving fast. How have you guys been able to and trying to keep up and adapt with that?
We actually were just at lunch with an IT solutions company talking about AI and IT itself. And I think what sometimes people don't realize is when you live in it, we may feel like we're behind the 8 ball and you go somewhere else. It's like, oh, we've been doing that automated for the last 5 years. But I think we do a lot of automation of workflows. A lot of like the administrative dashboards and those kind of things are automated, but we have really leaned into AI in the patient care areas. So we're part of a pilot with Microsoft to do some ambient dictation work. So it is truly, I have a mobile device that I click on a button.
It's just always on.
And it's on. Okay, the interaction I'm having with the patient is recorded. AI scours it, fills in flow sheets or fills in a progress note for a provider, and then it's closed with a human touch of, I validate that this is truly the interaction that went on. We also use it in like handoffs. So if a patient's going from the emergency department to an inpatient unit, it scours the chart for everything that happened during that ER stay and puts it in one succinct note so that the next person taking that patient on has the ability to not always rely on someone to give me a good solid report.
Wow. Yeah, that's always changing. That's crazy. So a couple questions just to, I think, wrap up toward the end. And then obviously anything that you guys want to share about Mercy or SBU, you're happy to. If you're talking to prospective students all the way from middle school to our college students that are still making decisions, I mean, what are the things you really try to point out that this is why healthcare right now is or is still a great profession, maybe for some that might question it. We know there's lots of jobs that are available and hard to fill. So I was just talking with Cindy Todd, our nursing director, and she was saying, I mean, we put out 500, between all the education systems in here, 500 nurses, and there's still open positions throughout the region. So besides there being jobs open, which is great for stability, what are some of the other selling points you guys put out for
I think
choosing
healthcare is one of those things that like I have a lot of choices. I can become a nurse, and what I do today and what I do a year from now can be different. The paths are so diverse with what you can do with one degree that it gives you so much flexibility. There's stability, like there's stability in that workforce. That is the one thing that healthcare gives is when we talk about economic recession and those kind of things. I look back in the early 2000s, we had, or I guess late 2000s, we had a recession. I don't know that I ever felt that. I worked in healthcare and I never concerned about my job going anywhere. But if I wanted to change what I wanted to do, there was still a lot of variety because there were still always sick people. That's one consistent thing we'll have.
Demographics too. I mean, we're experiencing fewer college students over the next couple decades, fewer K through 12 students, but that's going to mean there's more older patients that are going to fill the healthcare systems. Yeah.
I think now more than ever, there are so many opportunities for those students to get eyes on, shadow, observe, just experience all of the different roles, settings, professions to help solidify their decisions. We do a phenomenal job of opening up, honestly, every department, every procedure, like anything they would want to see is likely fair game. And it's fairly easy to get in and get scheduled to come get those observations done. So I think that's one, is just the access is there for them at an early age. Mercy Springfield, we have a number of different programs for them to engage them on a regular basis. We have a medical explorer program and it's called Healthcare Scholars that runs over the summer for high school students where they can come on a regular basis to get different, lectures from providers and listen to different panels, shadow, volunteer, hands-on activities, all of these different ways to get involved that kind of give them a further look behind the curtain.
Yeah.
And many of the students that step in and invest time into those programs at middle school or high school end up accepting some sort of a role as like a patient transporter or another position that they can do either on the tail end of high school or as they carry into their second level of education, which is, again, it's that foot in the door. It's that experience. It's kind of confirming, hey, I want healthcare. I've shadowed and I like this. Okay, now let's work within it. Okay, this was awesome. This is going to help me on that nursing resume and application and interview. And then now I can pull from those additional experiences to speak to in an interview or for a future job opportunity. So,
well, and foot in the door at Mercy with Win From Within as a program is a huge opportunity in that area too.
Yeah.
I can't believe we haven't even talked about it to this point.
Well, and I think that is it. Like Brent, you spoke to, we know there's going to be less high school students. There's going to be less people going into academia. And I think that's one of the things that Mercy's really invested in is how do we take traditional incentives for hire and make them more usable to the potential employee.
Yeah.
We offer to pay for your prerequisites, pay for your nursing school, up to a set amount in that time frame. And you don't find that in other industries. Yeah. I don't know that you're going to go into banking and you need an accounting degree or, public accounting. They're not going to pay for you to go to school and come out fairly debt free. Where healthcare is unique in that. And I think both of our organizations here in Springfield offer some version of that. And you don't find that in every industry.
Yeah, that's great. Anything else happening at Mercy that you guys are working on or that's exciting coming down the road in the next year or so that you want to share?
So probably our most exciting thing that we're working on right now that I think will continue to draw people into Southwest Missouri is medical residency. Mercy is naive in that graduate medical realm. We don't have any residency programs in Springfield outside of our competition we have 2 places in Springfield that has family medicine residencies, but we have some lofty goals of around 175 residents over the next 5 years.
Wow. And
starting
beyond family medicine. So
yeah,
you're
we
looking at
actually
multiple-
won't do
yeah.
any family medicine
Okay.
for Mercy, starting with internal medicine
Okay.
and ENT.
Hmm.
And then we'll grow from there as time goes on. So that's probably our newest edition of things that's been in the works for the last couple of years and finally come into fruition.
That's great. My curiosity on that, where will the residents come from? Like where are those places you guys are already starting to try to get
So
the word
really
out?
they'll come across, I mean, they could come from anywhere.
Mhm.
Our goal would be to try to recruit people who have ties to Southwest Missouri.
Yeah.
And in order to potentially kind of keep them in Southwest Missouri. But I think we're still far enough in our infancy that we don't really know what that's going to look like yet.
Yeah, just kind of see where you open the door and see
Yeah.
who comes in. Yeah. But I get that. If you have a Northern Californian from Northern California who
Right.
comes,
They're likely to go back
they'll
to
probably
Northern
go back to
California.
Yeah. So-
Although you get here and you see how
Yeah, the
nice
Ozarks
it
are
is.
nice.
The Ozarks are nice.
We like the Ozarks. Well, thank you guys for taking some time to walk through just some things that are happening there and talk about healthcare in the region. I know we're super thankful on the SBU side for all that you do to partner with us, even with the DPT program moving here. And we've got clinic space that we've worked out to share with you all. It's been fantastic. So you've been very generous with us, and I think we continue to want to see great things ahead for SBU and Mercy.
Well, thanks for having us. And we're always, the relationship and the students are always amazing to have in our building.
Yeah. Thank you.
Great. Jessica, Aaron, thanks for joining us. And this is one of two episodes we're going to do on healthcare in Southwest Missouri. So we're going to talk to CMH next week in a little bit different setting than Springfield. But again, this whole region, I think there's a lot of good collaboration of trying to solve, making sure there's good access and good care. So great conversation with Mercy. We'll have a conversation with CMH next time. And thank you, as always, for listening.